Good evening, friends. This is a continuation of PERT and CPM. In the earlier class, we have seen the definitions of CPM, PERT, and the advantages and disadvantages of CPM. Now we'll continue with PERT. So the advantages will go like this. So it is a large project planning. So a PERT chart will make planning the large projects easier. So if you have more number of activities in a project, so using PERT, so the chart can be easily prepared. So the next advantage is visible critical path. So the critical path will include all the activities that cannot be delayed without affecting the project completion time. If you make any delay of the critical activity, so that will further delay the project completion time. So PERT help us to identify the critical activities, so the critical path will be clearly visible, so that individual attention will be given to each critical activity, so that the project completion time will not be getting affected. The next advantage is what if analysis. The possibilities and the various level of uncertainties will be studied from the project activities by properly analyzing the critical path. So it is impossible to execute each activity in a project as per our planning. So there will be so many uncertainties we are going to face when we start execute our execution. So PERT will help us to identify the uncertainties at various levels, and it also check out the possibilities of the uncertainties, so that when and where any corrections are needed, so that will be applied, and all the efforts will be made to complete the project in time. The demerits of PERT will be like this. So it is complicated charts. So when we take it as an advantage of PERT, that so the large project planning will be made easier. At the same time, we say that the charts are very complicated because of the huge number of activities involved in the project. So we consider that the PERT diagrams will be very expensive to develop, update, and maintain. The next demerit is prediction inaccuracies. So, the complicated projects involving many activities and suppliers can make the prediction very difficult. When the number of activities are very small, so the project is very simple, and whatever prediction will do, so it will take place accordingly. But when the activities are very high in number, so that is the projects are very complicated, it is impossible to predict everything in advance. Then bias and inaccuracy in the source of data. So most of the time when we take simple projects, so we'll take the data of the same type of project from the earlier experience, and will conduct the activities very smoothly. But since the PERT method is helping us to plan very large sized project, so we cannot execute our present project based on the data obtained from the earlier project of similar type. So here, though the nature of the project is similar to the one which we have already carried out, so the same data cannot be applicable here. So there will be bias and inaccuracy in the source of data. Then we say that PERT is a probabilistic method where the activity times are represented by a probability distribution. Here we are taking the three time estimates made in the method. The optimistic time estimate TO. So that is the smallest time taken to complete the activity if everything goes well. So the project manager will be optimistic here, so that he assumes that everything goes well. So he assign a very small duration for each activity. Then the most likely time estimate, so TM. Here the project manager is not too optimistic nor too pessimistic. So he will consider the possible delays and the estimate of the normal time the activity would take will be assigned. Then pessimistic time estimate TP. Here the longest time that an activity would take will be assigned if everything goes wrong. That is, the project manager is very pessimistic here, so he will consider all the possible delays and interruptions, so he will assign longest time for each activity. Then here we have the differences between PERT and CPM. So taking the basis here, we are having the differentiation between PERT and CPM here. So the first basis is meaning. Taking the meaning as basis, we say that PERT is a technique which is used to manage the uncertain task of a project. Whereas CPM, so it is a statistical technique used to manage the activities of project. So PERT is activity oriented, CPM is PERT is event oriented, CPM is activity oriented. So method, to taking method as the basis. So PERT controls the time, whereas CPM controls both the cost and time. Progress. So here taking progress as the basis, PERT is concentrating on research and development projects, whereas CPM is concentrated on mostly in construction projects. So taking manage as the basis. So PERT manages the unpredictable activities, CPM manages the predictable activities. So appropriate for. So PERT is appropriate as we discussed. So we have so many trials and error methods in research and development projects. So PERT is appropriate here because we have so many unpredictions and here we cannot assume the things well in advance. CPM is appropriate for non-research projects, especially shipbuilding and construction work. So we are using three formulas here in PERT problems. One is the expected time TE, which is taken as TO plus 4 times TM plus TP by 6. TO is the optimistic time, TM is the most likely time, TP is the pessimistic time. So the average of these three will be taken as the expected time. Average in the sense not exactly the sum of 3 divided by 3. So it is the formula used here will be taken and calculated the expected time, and the variance of the activity sigma square is given as Tp minus T naught square divided by 6, and the standard normal variable Z is equal to Ts minus Te by sigma. So Ts is the scheduled time and Te is the expected time and sigma is the standard deviation. Thank you.